Welcome, everybody, to the Sleeper Wire Show. This is the Free Agent Frenzy. It is the start of the 2019 NFL season, and there is a ton of stuff going on. We're going to get into it all today and talk about our first mock draft of the season. But before we jump in, I am your host, Professor Chris, and I have two great guys with me. You know their voices. First off, Dirty Jobs Mike. What's going on, man?
What's happening, man? How we doing this evening? Lots of crazy free agent traffic, man. It's woo.
Yeah, free agency and trades. It's been an awesome couple days. And we also got Showtime George. What's going on? How you doing?
Hey, doing fantastic. I just got an email from the Miami Dolphins asking me if I was interested in playing quarterback. Much like Teddy Bridgewater, I turned them down.
Well, that's Tannehill's job to lose, right?
Oh, God. I think actually we're going to go into the season with either Tannehill or Blake Bortles. Either way, tank for Tula.
Wow, that's not great.
No.
Honestly, that would be a decent landing spot for Bortles.
That I don't hate the Bortles signing if he were to go to Miami. I think he is a little bit of an upgrade over Tannehill, but I mean Tannehill sucks. So you're looking at two turds and saying, well, that's a nicer looking turd.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me this week. Let's go ahead and start off with talking about all the action that has happened so far. You guys, free agency has been going on for a couple days now. It officially opened on Wednesday, but it's really been going on since Monday. So you have heard about almost all of this, if not all of it. So we're not going to be presenting anything new. We're just going to be giving our take on some of these players here. Maybe some of it will be new since it's recently breaking. But the biggest story by far, Odell Beckham Jr. being traded from the Giants to the Browns. The Browns give up a first-round pick, their second pick in the third, and Jabril Peppers to get Odell Beckham Jr. And I think the best part about this is, did you guys see the T-shirts that were made? It was like the state of Ohio, which is OH, and it said O and then BJ.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They didn't think about that before they made that.
If I lived in Ohio, I would own many of those shirts.
That would be your entire wardrobe?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, anyways, let's go ahead and break down some of the fantasy implications here. Personally, I think this is a huge upgrade for Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, he was already going to be most likely a top 5 wide receiver. Now, maybe top 3, top 2. He's going to be a stud with Baker. Nick Chubb also, I think, is a huge beneficiary of this, along with Baker Mayfield. But, George, let me get your take. Do any other receiving options get a bump up from the Odell Beckham trade?
I think you get a slight bump up for Jarvis Landry. He doesn't have to be the one no more. He's not going to get the opposing team's best coverage. So I think he gets a slight bump. I think Njoku takes a small dip because Landry's going to go up. Landry's best coming over the short passing routes over the center of the field. That's what he does best. That's what Njoku does best. But I think Landry's a better beneficiary than Njoku. And other than that, I think it kills everybody else's value as far as wide receivers on that team.
Oh, yeah, Antonio Callaway just completely gone now.
No value there at all.
Mike, what about you? Do you feel like Jarvis Landry gets a bump or takes a hit here?
I think actually the only they made so many moves that were so good for that offense that I really feel like the only guy I'm very confident drafting on this whole entire team would be Baker Mayfield because he's got so many weapons. I mean, yes, he'll get an uptick, but I mean, man, he's just going to have you can't cover everybody out there. And I mean, when in 6 weeks or possibly even sooner, maybe even later, you never know what's going to happen with Kareem Hunt till it happens. But once he gets out on that field too, man, that is going to be a nasty offense. It's going to be hard to keep up with them.
Yeah, I tweeted this out a couple nights ago. Baker Mayfield going to be a top 5 quarterback this year.
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe.
We were doing our mock draft last night for the show tonight, and I really had to struggle to not take Baker over Aaron Rodgers, which is a very weird, very weird decision to have to make.
I look at this Browns team, and it reminds me a lot of the Kansas City Chiefs. Not sure how good the coaching is. I don't think the coaching is on the same level as Kansas City, but offensive weapon-wise, it reminds me a lot of that team.
For sure. Yep.
Well, and their defense is no slouch either. I mean, that's
No,
going to
their
be a
defense
solid,
is-
well-rounded team.
Yeah, their defense is much better than Kansas City's defense. I mean, Kansas City's addressing their defense this year in free agency. They've had a couple of nice pickups. The Browns' defense is legit.
And the Browns also traded for Oliver Vernon, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, from the Giants as well. They made 2 trades with the Giants in within 10 minutes of each other.
Yeah, I'm waiting on breaking news saying that they've traded for Barkley as well.
Well, they are also rumored to be shopping Duke Johnson since they've got the whole Kareem Hunt thing him coming back after, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks, depending on however long the suspension is. But he's on the block right now, according to rumors. But let's go ahead and move on. This one just happened a couple minutes ago. Golden Tate to the New York Giants, a 4-year, $37.5 million deal with $23 million guaranteed. I'm super bummed. For those of you who listened to the show 2 weeks ago, know that I really, really wanted the Colts to pick up Golden Tate. Mike, you were on the same side there. You thought he would be a great fit with Andrew Luck. Pretty bummed about this, but good for Golden Tate for getting his money. So now, Golden Tate or Sterling Shepard, Mike?
Oh, Golden Tate for sure. I think that he's the guy that commands the target share. The fact Eli Manning's throwing it to him, I don't really like that so much, but at the same time, I feel like he's good enough to get the ball to where the separation that Golden Tate creates. So I think that'll actually be a pretty good fit. I think, but I think it'll definitely be a lot better than Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, they got
George. What about you? What's your take on?
They have different roles. If you force my hand to take one, I'm going to take the slot guy. So it would be Golden Tate. But it's hard to compare the two because they play different roles. Golden Tate's going to play the slot, and Shepard's going to play the outside. Shepard's going to get the better coverage from the opposing teams. So I would lean more Golden Tate. But honestly, give me Evan Ingram. Fuck it. Give me Evan Ingram. I'll take Evan Ingram over both Tate and Sterling Shepard.
Really? Over both guys, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take Tate over Ingram, but I do think I would take Ingram over Shepard.
I agree with
Let's go ahead and move on here, though. We got a lot of free agents to get through, and I want to make sure we get through a bunch of our mock draft here. Antonio Brown traded to the Raiders for a 3rd and a 5th round pick, which it was. Did you guys see the rumor that the Patriots offered the 2nd and the 4th?
I'm really glad they didn't trade him to the Patriots.
Yeah, me too.
but I couldn't do it anymore if they did. It would. Thank you.
In all honesty, the Patriots 2nd and 4th is basically the same pick as the Raiders 3rd and 5th. So last pick in the 2nd and 4th are the one of the first picks in the 3rd and 5th. Yeah, they don't trade him to a rival. But that's pretty cheap for the best wide receiver in the game. So within a span of 2 or 3 days, 2 of the top 5 wide receivers got traded. You guys remember the last time that happened?
I don't.
Yeah, I was a legit question. I don't have the answer for you.
I'm like waiting for the stat to come in right there.
You said no,
it was
like I had
1967. Bo Durant,
The Raiders also just released Jordy Nelson today as well. So it's really just Antonio Brown, Seth Roberts, Marcel Aitman. Is that it? Not Jared Cook either. He's gone. Well, he's a free agent.
Yeah, I think Antonio Brown's gonna really not enjoy the first segment of his career in Oakland unless they start making some serious changes. Like Derek Carr is just a terrible quarterback after the first or second series. Once he's got to start adapting to a defense that's adapted to his offense, he starts crumbling right away. I mean, he just can't seem to read it or can't seem to audible out of danger like all the other good quarterbacks can. So you got Antonio Brown's not going to come in there and save the day. I feel like he's going to go in there and get more like Amari Cooper type stats. Like he'll have big games. Of course, it's Antonio Brown. He's one of the best in the game, but he's not going to have consistent big games because it's not Ben Roethlisberger throwing him the ball every 3 plays.
Hey,
10.5 touchdowns over under.
I think
yeah, I'm going to go under. I think he gets 9 touchdowns.
Hey, producer breaking in here. They also signed Tyrell Williams.
I was about to mention that.
That was coming next. Thanks for interrupting, producer.
Let us do our thing there, producer.
No, that is a good segue. Yeah, Tyrell Williams is staying in the AFC West, going to the Raiders. So it is Antonio Brown and Tyrell Williams. I hadn't mentioned that yet, but I think that's good for Derek Carr. It's clearly an upgrade over what he had last season.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge upgrade over what he had last season.
And he's only, 2 seasons removed from being an MVP candidate?
Yep. Well,
Derek Carr was great.
What really has got me scratching my head is if the Steelers accepted a third and a fifth for Antonio Brown, where was the 31 other teams? I mean, seriously, like, you couldn't get a first-round pick for Antonio Brown from any team in the NFL? You had to settle for a third and a fifth? It just it makes me scratch my head. It's like trading when New England traded for Randy Moss and they gave up a 4th-round pick for him. That made me scratch my head then too, and this one does as well. Not that I'm comparing the two impact that they're going to have post-trade, because I don't think Brown – I kind of agree with Mike. I don't think Brown's going to have that huge production that we've seen from him. I don't think he's going to have a Randy Moss-like season. But it's just – Brown is still a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, and you couldn't get anything more than a third and a fifth for him. That's crazy.
Yeah, good for the Raiders.
Yeah, no, I love it for the Raiders. A smart move by them.
Brown wanted out, he got out, and he got more money. So good for him, good for the Raiders, bad for the Steelers. But you know what other Steelers superstar is not going to be returning? Le'Veon Bell to the Jets on a 4-year, $52.5 million contract, $25 million fully guaranteed. The Jets also released Isaiah Crowell, so it really is going to be the Le'Veon Bell show. You don't give a guy 25 guaranteed to not get less than 300 carries. This guy's going to get the rock.
Yeah, you don't bring in Lev Bell and say, hey, we want to control your touches, so we're going to make you share the backfield with Isaiah Crowell.
Yeah. So that's really a lot of people thought he was going to be going there, where you can finally say that this has been put to rest. I don't even really think this is that big of news at this point, because we've just been waiting for it for so long. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of exactly where everybody thought he was going to go when he went there. The weight concerns are still there for me as far as like him being an elite running back. To me, getting him on a system that isn't very successful at running the ball, we will see if he's this elite talent that everybody thinks he is, or if he's the type of running back that just really attributed to the fact that Pittsburgh has such an amazing offensive line. So we'll see, I guess, how this, because the Jets made a lot of really good moves this offseason. I think they shored up a few holes on their defense. They could actually be a legitimate threat this year. But again, it all just depends on that one thing. Is he elite, or is he just a product of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, we're going to see. It's going to be super interesting for sure. Let's move on here. Mark Ingram to the Ravens on a 3-year, $15 million contract. This is really where the rumors were. I believe 2 weeks ago on the free agent show, Micah, you and I both picked him to go to the Ravens too, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yep.
Yeah. You know what else I called on that show? I went back, I listened to the clip as soon as I heard the signing. It was something along the lines like, I have no way to back this up. I don't know why I feel this way, but I have a gut feeling Adam Humphries is going to go to the Titans. And then he did, baby.
That's cool. Yeah. I think Mark Ingram to the Ravens is actually probably one of the bigger signings of the offseason so far anyways. I think he's going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, he can do what the Ravens want each one of their running backs to be able to do. They haven't really had a guy who can catch and, run. They've had runners, they've had pass catchers, but they haven't had the total package, and now they have that. So that said, Mike, top 20 for Mark Ingram?
Yeah, unless he does something like he did to Sean Payton to make him hate him so bad, to John Harbaugh, like to make him hate him so bad. Because there was some hate there. For some reason, that happened. So keep your eye out for that.
Top 15?
Yeah, I think he could actually. I mean, I would say RB1. I think RB1, top 12.
What about you, George? Where do you see him finishing?
I'm not putting him in the top 12. The best running back they have on that team is their quarterback. So I want to see how it's going to mesh with him and Lamar Jackson. Jackson runs the ball. He dominates it so much. I do agree. He does everything that the Ravens have wanted their running backs to be able to do. Unfortunately, they've been saddled with just really bad running backs the last few years. I'm going to have him. I was looking at my rankings earlier today. I think I'm going to settle him in right now at number 17. So I definitely don't have him as an RB1, and I have him in the top 20 as a solid RB2.
Yeah, I like that. That's about where I'm going to have him, I think, as well. Let's move on to the most exciting piece of news of the fantasy offseason so far. Devin Funchess to the Indianapolis Colts.
Because they needed more tight ends.
Everybody else is as excited about this as I am.
I don't hate this signing, actually. I mean, listen, you don't pay a guy it's only a 1-year deal, but you don't pay a guy $13 million to come in and not use him. I think he's going to be solidified as the wide receiver 2 there. He's a big body, figuratively and literally, for Andrew Luck to hit.
Yeah,
I think it'll be Funchess. He's basically signed a 1-year prove it deal. And he's betting on himself. And I always like it when players bet on themselves.
He's betting on Andrew Luck.
Well, he is, yes. But he's also betting on himself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, here's why this signing makes sense. You know, Devin Funchess horrible last year, right? He was horrible for fantasy. He's been slow. He just doesn't look great out there. But you know what? You mentioned, the Colts need another tight end, blah, blah, blah. No, that's exactly what Devin Funchess is. He's a tight end out there masquerading as a wide receiver. He's not fast enough to be, the number one wide receiver. He's just fast enough to be a tight end. Huge body. That's the type of guy that Andrew Luck has been looking into the red zone for. I mean, we saw that with Jack Doyle. We saw it with Dwayne Allen. We saw it with Eric Swope. We saw it last year with Eric Ebron. Those big bodies in the red zone. That's what Andrew Luck looks for. Now he's going to have another one. This was a perfect place for Devin Funchess to land.
You know, it's weird because I've made a career out of never suggesting Devin Funchess in fantasy football. Him and what's his name from Tennessee? The guy whose name I can never remember because
Corey Davis.
No, not even the receiver. Derrick Henry. That's who I'm looking
Derrick
for.
Henry.
Yes, I never suggested either one of those two guys, and it's very rarely does it come back to bite me. But I really feel like this is going to be a good fantasy move for him. I don't really like Cam Newton as a throwing quarterback. He's never really been a guy that finds that receiver, whereas Andrew Luck does, and this guy is quite the monster, and he's a target monster too. So I think it'll actually be good. I think it'll be good for T.Y. Hilton, and I think it'll be good for Devin Funchess. Yeah,
it's a great signing for the Colts. But you know what? We're not gonna spend too much time on the Colts like we did 2 weeks ago. So let's go ahead and move on. That was just an exciting signing there. Nick Foles to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are releasing Blake Bortles. He signs a 4-year, $88 million deal with a max value of $102 million. That is what being Super Bowl MVP will get you. Yeah, you say, you know what, Eagles? I'll pay you $2 million of my own money if you let me go.
It's all about the return on investment, and I think he won that one.
Yeah, he definitely did. Good for him for going out and getting his money. He's 30 years old, right? He's not, some young spring chicken. He's been around the league for a long time. I don't think he's worth that amount of money by any stretch of the imagination, but good for him.
I think this is going to strap the Jaguars for the next 4 years.
Oh, I hope so. As a Colts fan, yeah, I absolutely hope so.
Nick Foles is not worth $88 million. He's not worth a max value of $102 million. I honestly don't think Nick Foles is that much better than Blake Bortles, if I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah,
he's not as much of a runner as Blake Bortles. He's not as fast as Blake Bortles. He may be a little bit more accurate with his passes than Bortles, but not by a whole lot. We all knew Foles was going to go to Jacksonville. I just scratched my head at the amount of money that they threw at him to get him. They were literally bidding against themselves.
Yeah, it's not a huge upgrade. It's most likely a lateral move.
Yep. That's how I feel about that too. I like him. I think he's amazing in the playoffs and things like that. But as far as your regular season day-to-day quarterback, he's just not that great. And I don't know. I don't see the Jacksonville Jaguars doing much. I think their defense got hit so hard last year. And you're starting to see like a lot of those rookie pieces start moving, once money time comes, those guys are taking off. So I think Jacksonville will be a fading team.
Yeah, that's going to be great. Let's move on here. Latavius Murray. This is a big signing. I think it kind of slipped under the radar, but Latavius Murray to the Saints, 4-year, $14.4 million. Not a huge annual contract, but I mean, if we're really honest about it, Latavius Murray hasn't ever earned a huge annual contract, but he's stepping into that Mark Ingram role. He has okay hands. I'm not going to go out there and say he's not Alvin Kamara, of course, but he can catch the ball a little bit. He's that big bruising back that they need in short yardage situations on the goal line. I think Latavius Murray is going to be an RB2. I think he's going to be right around there with Mark Ingram.
I think A, you're high, and B, you're crazy.
Nope.
I'm gonna Mike might appreciate this one. Last year we were all in, well, not all of us, but a lot of people in the industry were all in on CJ Anderson coming in. They're not going to give Christian McCaffrey the load. They're going to let CJ Anderson come in and he's going to fill that Jonathan Stewart role. It's the same thing I think here with the Saints. They brought Latavius Murray in. They're going to feature Alvin Kamara a lot, and Latavius Murray is going to get maybe 4 to 5 touches a game, if that. It's going to be the Alvin Kamara show all day, all night, and Murray's going to come in just to give him a break on a series or two, and that's it.
How many rushing attempts do you think Kamara has this next season then?
Oh, I'm going to say, let's go 325.
Are you shitting me? 325 rushing attempts for Alvin Kamara?
Yep. I honestly, yeah.
One,
I honestly
are you
believe
high? And two, are you crazy? Are you
No.
300?
Listen, you would have said the same thing last year if somebody would have said that they thought Christian McCaffrey was going to get the workload that he got in Carolina. You would have said, are you crazy? Are you high? I think the Saints, listen, I know the Saints are the number 1 rushing team in the NFL. I know that they normally run 2 running backs all the time. I don't think Latavius Murray is that guy. He's not better than Mark Ingram by any stretch. I just think they're going to feature Alvin Kamara, and they're going to let him run the ball and catch the ball and do everything.
No, see, the Panthers were able to do that with Christian McCaffrey because Christian McCaffrey is built like a semi-truck. He may be like 5'8" or 5. I don't know how short he is, but he's a short guy. But his biceps are like the size of my house. I mean, that dude is just stacked. Alvin Kamara is not. He's not built the same way Christian McCaffrey is. He can't handle the same load that Christian McCaffrey can. Yeah, everybody was wrong on Christian McCaffrey last year, saying he's not going to get, all the touches, and he did. That was a big miss on most people's parts. But their body styles aren't even close to the same.
I got to pull this bus over real quick because I was way anti CJ Anderson and still remain so. And I will never, and I was saying it the whole time, like Christian McCaffrey is a McCaffrey, watch out. But
yeah.
Neither here nor there. I think Latavius Murray and the Saints, I think that's the perfect union right there. I mean, I think that's the perfect complement to Alvin Kamara's running style. I think this was a huge pickup. I agree. I think he's going to get Ingram style numbers. No, maybe not. If it's RB2, it's going to be very low end RB2, but he's going to be a really good guy, especially for the value you're going to be grabbing this guy at.
Now, Kamara this season had 194 rushing attempts, and that was with Mark Ingram missing the first 3 games of the season. Is that what it was?
6 games.
No,
Mark Ingram didn't miss 6. He missed 4 games.
4 games, yeah, 4 games.
Oh.
6 games. You kidding me? Get that shit out of here.
Well, we know who's high.
Oh, but yeah, so that was with missing or with having the backfield to himself for those 4 games. 194 carries. I don't think he gets much more than that with Latavius Murray there. Maybe 230, but 315, that's pie in the sky.
We'll see. We'll revisit it later on in the season, about midseason. But I think that the Saints are going to use him the way that the Panthers use Christian McCaffrey. I think they're just going to feature him. I mean, he was killing it for the Saints when they featured him in the first 4 games. He was unstoppable. I think he's going to be like that the whole year.
All right. Anyways, let's move on. We're not going to get anywhere arguing about this. Carlos Hyde to the Chiefs, a 1-year, $2.8 million deal. He's getting up there in age. He's certainly not the oldest player in the league anymore. Just like Frank Gore out there signing with Shady McCoy and Chris Ivory in Buffalo.
The eternal Frank Gore.
Yeah, they got 3 guys all in their 30s as their running backs. I like this signing. Damian Williams, we knew he wasn't going to be the only guy there. I've always liked Damian Williams. I liked him more than Kenyon Drake. I thought he was the better back. Apparently the Dolphins did too. That's why they were giving him the ball when he was in Miami. But you know what? Carlos Hyde is still capable. He showed that with the Browns at the beginning of last season. I honestly think that let me say this. I wouldn't be surprised if by the start of the season, Hyde is the starter, Williams is the backup.
I agree. I think that's exactly how I felt about this exactly when I saw that trade happen. I think this is another one of those kind of under the radar trades. I don't think there's a whole lot of people talking about Carlos Hyde becoming a Kansas City Chief. I mean, this guy just went onto one of the higher octane offenses in the game right there. I was going to say, and I mean, he should be lights out. He should be able to just slide right in there and be lights out. And I think he is a better running back than Damian Williams.
If you were to draft today, Carlos Hyde could be the biggest steal in fantasy football this season.
Next year's James Conner, I would feel.
Yeah, I think this signing is great. I love it. Not signing, but trade. I think it's great.
See, I'm opposite on you guys on this one as well. I think this secures Damian Williams as the RB1 there. Damian Williams is a better pass catcher than Carlos Hyde. He's a lot faster than Carlos Hyde. Damian Williams can actually do it all. I think this was great for Damian Williams. This just ensures that the Chiefs are not going to bring in a big name. I know a lot of people thought, maybe they'll bring in Bell or somebody like that. I'm glad to see that they didn't. I think Andy Reid came out and said it's going to be Damian Williams' job to lose. And I'm going to take Andy Reid at his word. I still think Damian Williams is the one there. If he gets hurt, like you guys said, wheels up with Carlos Hyde, he could be the steal of the draft. But I just think this more secures Damian Williams' job than anything.
You said he's a better receiver. Carlos Hyde caught 59 passes in 2017. He's got underrated hands.
That was a long time ago.
2 seasons ago.
In the NFL, 2 seasons is a long time ago.
Yeah, but your hands don't deteriorate. You can still catch the ball.
I'm melting.
If anything, they get a little softer, don't they?
Right.
Get a little wiser with Hyde's also up there in age. I mean, he's almost 30. He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. It's not like he was, getting 250, 300 carries a game, both with Cleveland and San Francisco. But I don't know. When you watch them on the film, Williams his burst, his vision, he does it all. He just looks so much more of a complete back than what Carlos Hyde has shown the last couple of years.
Hyde will be 29 in September.
That's up there in age.
Yep, it is. It is. So we're going to be opposite on this one as well. I love this Carlos Hyde to the Chiefs. Let's move on to Deshaun Jackson. Back to the Philadelphia Eagles. He was traded for a 6th round pick. It was Deshaun Jackson and a 7th round to the Eagles for the 6th round pick to the Bucks. Then the Eagles also signed Deshaun Jackson to a 3-year deal. You know what? Carson Wentz, better than Jameis Winston. It's a better offense. Now Carson Wentz has everything that he needs to succeed. He's got great pass catching options. He's got the speed guy. He's got the slot guy in Nelson Aguilar. He's got the tight end in Zach Ertz. He's got the big target in Alshon Jeffrey. If there was ever a season for Carson Wentz to, finally put it all together, shouldn't it be this season?
Yeah, he's got the pieces he needs to get it done. And I think they reserved him for this reason. I think this is going to be a good year for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Carson Wentz play at his best, and he looks fantastic. I think them bringing Deshaun Jackson in does everything you would want him to do for Carson Wentz. If he stays healthy, which is going to be his biggest factor, he's easily going to fall in between the top 5 and 7 range quarterbacks for me for the season.
All right, guys, we got 2 more pieces here. Tevin Coleman to the 49ers on a 2-year, $10 million deal to play the Tevin Coleman role in San Francisco. back to his same responsibility, just behind Jerick McKinnon, because he's still going to be the lead back.
Right. Sure? Yeah. I mean, Jerick McKinnon's made of glass. I think Tevin Coleman's going to be another one of those great draft guys.
Yeah, he definitely could be. But we'll talk about implications there. There's a lot of running backs in that 49ers backfield.
Well, he reunited with his guy.
He
Shanahan,
did.
So
He did.
Yeah, that 49ers backfield is the only backfield in the NFL that makes the New England Patriots jealous.
With how many options there are.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. You got Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon, Matt Breida, Wilson Jr., Alfred Morris, who I expect to get cut, but he's still there. They got the fullback. I mean, they've got so many weapons in that backfield. Whoever does, because I'm not sure Tevin Coleman's not coming there to take over the McKinnon role. I'm not sure who's going to be the starter, who's going to be the backup, if it's going to be a 50-50. I have no clue here. But whoever does get the starter there is going to have some value.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to the last piece here. I want to make sure we get to the mock draft. Adrian Peterson back to the Washington Redskins on a 2-year deal. Coming off a 1,000-yard season, he was really good for fantasy for, being a 33-year-old. He actually turns 34 in a week. So obviously Adrian Peterson, if it's his job and he's the sole guy there, I think we can probably say, okay, yeah, he's probably going to be an RB2. But I just want to get your quick thoughts, George, on how does this make you feel about Geis? Do you think he's going to be ready since they gave a 33-year-old, damn near 34-year-old, a 2-year deal?
So what was interesting is somebody actually asked Darius Geis, as far as AP goes and X's and O's, what does AP actually help you with? Because they asked him, isn't the running back a more instinctual position? This was Darius Geis's response. He actually replied to the fan. He can help me with fundamentals before the snap on how he reads the defense, his blocking, how he breaks down film, studies film, when he worked out what he does consistently, meal plan, and recovery from the ACL. Of everything he said there, that last part is what struck me the most. And I'm a huge Geis fan. I've got him in so many dynasty leagues. But the recovery from the ACL, AP's been there and done that. He's going to be able to mentor Geis on how to properly return from that. I think they will share duties to start the year. And then as the year progresses and Geis gets more and more comfortable, I can see him taking over as the starter and becoming the lead back and AP being there to mentor him. But as far as fantasy goes, I think they're going to split for starters.
All right. Mike, what about you? How do you feel about
Geis?
Geis? You think he'll be ready?
Yeah, I think we'll see him. I think George actually hit the nail on the head on this one. I think that they'll split it out right away. Maybe even take a whole entire season to develop with the two-headed monster back there. So I think Adrian Peterson might just be getting paid to be an on-the-field coach type position. But I think this year he'll still be fantasy viable. But I think by next year it'll be the Geis show.
The Geis show?
The Geis show.
I didn't know Darius was Italian.
Hey.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for the free agent frenzy, the trade market, heating up and everything. Let's talk about our first mock draft of the season. And we decided to do it tonight because we wanted to wait until after free agency has started and just to, get those quick overreactions. So here we had a bunch of people here that we all know. So it was Adam, our Grand Poobah. This is the draft order. So Adam, Matt Spencer is one of the analysts and moderators on Sleeper. Then it was George, Corey, Jason, Livy from Sleeper, Williard, Mike, Hoos, myself, Lucas, and then producer Steve at the very end. So it was a 12-team PPR, and we're going to go 6 picks at a time. Kicking it off, Adam took Ezekiel Elliott to start. Then it went Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara for you, George, Todd Gurley, Christian McCaffrey, and DeAndre Hopkins. Is there anything, Mike, in those first 6 picks that you would do differently?
No. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, I think I would rather grab, like Melvin Gordon. Like I grabbed 2 rounds later or, somebody like that. Yeah, 2 picks later.
2 rounds.
Yeah, sorry.
What the hell are the rest of us doing?
Yeah, no kidding, man.
But that would be about the only thing I'd change. I think Gordon over Hopkins would be the only thing. I think I'd rather a running back than DeAndre Hopkins.
What about you, George?
I don't mind it. Looking at the way it played out for Livy, I don't hate the DeAndre Hopkins pick in the first at 1.6. Really, honestly, 1 through 5 was running backs. You can make an argument for really any one of them to be 1 overall. You're splitting hairs between 2, 3, 4, 5 on the running backs there. So there's nothing I'd change.
Let me ask you, if Todd Gurley did not have arthritis, would you have taken him over Kamara?
I honestly thought about taking Todd Gurley over Kamara to begin with, but I believe in Alvin Kamara is going to get just a huge workload this year. Not sure how big the workload Todd Gurley is going to get. I think it was maybe a little recency biased where we've seen he was splitting time with Mike's boy CJ in the playoffs last year. So a little leery there. The arthritis doesn't help. So no, I took Kamara. I would probably do it again.
Todd Gurley definitely gets more work than Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I think 100%. I like Todd Gurley at the top of that.
But I do still think Alvin Kamara is a top 5 pick. So, like you said, it's splitting hairs. So Hopkins as a first wide receiver off the board. This is the first time we haven't seen Antonio Brown as a first wide receiver in, 5 years? Something like that? Maybe since Calvin Johnson?
Yeah, he's typically the very first wide receiver off the board in pretty much every draft.
Yeah, for sure. And this one, well, you guys will find out where he's going to go. Let's move on. The back half of the first round. Williard took Michael Thomas. Mike took Melvin Gordon. Hoos takes Devontae Adams with the 9th pick. I was at the 10th spot. I took Julio Jones with the 110. Lucas took Odell Beckham, and then producer Steve took Joe Mixon to finish out the first round. Mike, I was super bummed that Melvin didn't get to me. I didn't think he would, but I knew with you in front of me, he wasn't gonna.
I can't just let that kind of talent just sit on the sideline, man.
Yeah, it was a great pick. Is there anything in here that you would have done differently? So guys who went after Joe Mixon, we had some running backs later, Dalvin Cook, James Conner, David Johnson, Nick Chubb, Le'Veon Bell. Would you have taken any of those guys over Mixon?
I personally, so. I probably would took James Conner over Mixon.
Okay. Yeah, so Mixon was taken as the 7th running back off the board. So you're saying maybe James Conner would be the RB7.
Yeah, I think so.
What about Conner or Melvin?
Oh, give me Melvin.
Okay. Yep. I completely agree. My favorite player in the NFL. What about wide receivers? So we had in the first round, Hopkins, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, Julio Jones, and Odell Beckham. One guy who did not go in the first, like I expected him to, was Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, he went more towards the middle of the second, which was kind of surprising. As far as the first round wide receivers, we're splitting hairs, but 1-9, 110, 111 was Devontae Adams, Julio, and Odell. Personally, I think I would have taken Odell, then Devontae Adams and Julio. But again, at this early in the draft, we're splitting hairs.
Yeah, they're all the same tier.
Yep.
For sure. Let's kick off the second round. This was a snake draft. So going from the back to first, we have Dalvin Cook, James Conner. I took David Johnson in the second. Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike takes Tyreek Hill, and then Williard takes Nick Chubb. So I had David Johnson as the 10th running back off the board, which I actually feel okay about. My big dilemma was, do I take DJ or Chubb or Le'Veon Bell? And I decided to go with David Johnson because I do think the Cardinals are going to have a different quarterback this season. They're definitely going to have a new coach. They're going to have new wide receivers. It's going to be a new offense because it can't be worse than last year. So I do think good things are in line for David Johnson. Byron Leftwich, I believe, is still going to be the offensive coordinator. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so that's good news for DJ as well. So I think he's still going to be an RB1. He's definitely got RB1 talent, but I wasn't sure. So, Mike, would you take Johnson over Bell and Chubb?
I think I would. I think I agree with you. I don't think Arizona's going to be as bad as they were last year. I think they're actually going to be pretty decent. And David Johnson is one of those guys who's one of those elite talents. Like, it doesn't really matter what you put around him. He can still succeed. Kind of the opposite of what I was saying about Le'Veon Bell. He is that guy that can just go out there and get things done. So I think I'd take David Johnson there. Just too many question marks. Now, Chubb, I like Chubb, but I don't like Chubb maybe say around week 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there.
You like Chubb.
I like Chubb.
George, what about you? David Johnson, Nick Chubb, or Le'Veon Bell?
I would have took Le'Veon Bell.
Okay.
I think he's going to feed him. They're just going to feed him in New York. He thought that they were trying to run his legs off him in Pittsburgh. New York's going to be even worse.
We just got a note from our producer. Byron Leftwich is in Tampa. So scratch that earlier, guys. I should have looked that up.
The producer would know.
I guess he would. Yep. Mr. Bucks fan back there. Sorry for that mix up. Let's talk about the wide receivers, though. It was Juju and Tyreek Hill. Mike, I would have taken Tyreek Hill over Juju. What about you, George?
I would have too.
What about you, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Tyreek Hill, man. I can't believe he fell that late.
I can't either. You're starting out with Melvin Gordon and Tyreek Hill. That's amazing.
Not a bad day.
As we go through, I'm finding that I don't know how to feel about my team. Usually I feel pretty confident. Yeah, I love this team, but I don't know how I feel about this one. But after we get through about 5 rounds or so, we'll talk about our individual teams here. Let's move on. Back half of the second. Le'Veon Bell, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Keenan Allen, Darius Geis, the 11th pick in the second, and then Amari Cooper to end the second round. So Amari Cooper once again working himself into a second round pick, which is ridiculous. So anyways, George, let me ask you, Mike Evans or Antonio Brown this year?
I'm going to go Mike Evans.
Okay, so you think Jason made the right call there?
Yeah, I think he did. I believe that there's going to be some growing pains. Listen, I think Antonio Brown's going to have he's going to have a good year in Oakland. He's not going to put up the consistent numbers that we've seen from him in the past, but he in the second round, he's not going to let you down. I was hoping he was going to fall to me at the very next pick, but I think that the rapport Mike Evans has with Jameis Winston, I think that it's going to go a lot further than what we've got between Carr and Antonio Brown. So I see there'll be some struggling between the two, the quarterback and the wide receiver in Oakland. So I was going to play. I'd have played it safe and took Mike Evans.
Yeah, I think that was the right call as well. You took Keenan Allen, so you're starting out with 2 PPR gods, basically, Alvin Kamara and Keenan Allen. Would you have started this way in a standard?
In a standard, no, absolutely not. But I do. So anybody who knows me, when we draft, I have googly eyes for Keenan Allen. So
Lucas and me too.
Yeah, Keenan Allen is. If there was a my guy, Keenan Allen's a my guy. And so I try to get him in every draft that I do.
You know, it sucks. I still see people making stupid ass comments on Sleeper about Keenan Allen. Oh, I'd never pick him. He just can't stay on the field. It's like the dude's been healthy for like 2 or 3 straight seasons. Like he had 2 fluke injuries in a row, and you can't blame that on him. Like it's not like he's injury prone. He still has this label, even though he's played all 16 for 2 straight years.
And that's fine. I'm glad he has that label, to be honest.
I am too.
Because that means when it comes time for me to pick him, he's there.
Yeah. End of the second round. That's pretty great. I mean, he was going at the beginning of the second last season. What about Darius Geis in the second round? How do you feel about that, Mike?
That's the one I kind of didn't like right there. I think there's just still a lot of question marks around him. Like he had Saquon right before him, which is a great first back, but I just don't like him as your RB2.
Yeah, looking at the guys who were taken next, instead of taking Geis, I probably would have taken AJ Green.
Yeah,
of the ones that came behind.
Well, I mean, if you just look at running backs, I mean, I'm taking Lindsey, I'm taking Williams, I'm taking Fournette. I mean, I would have taken any one of those running backs over him.
I would take Marlon Mack too.
Yep, same here.
Well, let's start the third round here. First 6 picks. Phillip Lindsay, Adam Thielen, AJ Green in the third round, which is bonkers. Damian Williams, Leonard Fournette for Jason and Sonny Michel. And George, you are the one who got AJ Green. When he was there in the third round, how excited were you?
I was thrilled, to be honest. So 3 picks that made me scratch my head was Darius Geis in the second, Amari Cooper in the second, and Phillip Lindsay in the third. Those 3 right there made me scratch my head. I couldn't believe that those guys were gone that early.
I agree.
At the third round, I was staring at AJ Green, and I'm thinking, please, God, do not let him go right before me. I'll take.
It's one of those things like you're coming up to you need to make a left turn at a left arrow and you see it turn green and you're like way far away and you're like, don't turn, don't change, stay green, stay green. And then it stayed green.
Yeah, I was debating. I was honestly debating between Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs because I didn't think AJ Green was going to be there. And he fell right to my lap. And I'm like, well, this is an easy pick.
Sometimes good things happen. Yeah, that was a great pick. Third round for AJ Green, just crazy. Let's move on here, get to the back half of the third round. So we ended with, I'll read those first six again, starting the third, Phillip Lindsay, Adam Thielen, AJ Green, Damian Williams, Leonard Fournette, and Sony Michel. Kicking off the back half, Williard takes Marlon Mack, Mike takes Aaron Jones, Hoos takes Stephon Diggs, I took Devonta Freeman, Lucas takes Travis Kelce, and then Steve takes Kenny Golladay to end the third round. I want to ask you guys about this because I wasn't sure. Devonta Freeman in the third. How do you feel about that, George?
I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think that's fair value for him. We're only a couple of seasons removed from him being like one of the top fantasy running backs in the NFL.
Exactly.
No Tevin Coleman. Now, yes, there's Ito Smith. He's there. I don't know if Ito Smith is going to fall into that Tevin Coleman role or not. I don't know if they're going to draft somebody to be behind Devonta Freeman. But for right now, the way the draft looked and the way the rosters looked on March 13th, I'm not hating that pick in the third round at all.
Would you have taken him or Aaron Jones?
I probably would have took Devonta Freeman
Suck it, Mike.
just because the only reason I say that is because Green Bay has come out and said that they want to use both running backs, and that kills Aaron Jones.
It does. Would you have taken Marlon Mack or Devonta Freeman, Mike?
I think I'd have taken Marlon Mack. I'm not big on Devonta Freeman. I don't. He's been so inconsistent as.
Oh, he's been so injured.
2 seasons. I know 3 years ago he was great, but the past 2 he hasn't been.
He's been hurt.
Yeah, he's been hurt, and I mean that's one red flag right there. And I mean Marlon Mack does have his nagging injury as well, but I don't know. I just like that offense a whole lot better too.
Travis Kelce at the 11th pick of the third round, I honestly think is pretty good value for him. I don't know if any of you guys are going to see Kelce fall that far. I would think he's most likely going to end of the second, beginning of the third.
I think because of who we had in this draft is the reason why he fell so late.
I agree. What do you guys think about Kenny Golladay to finish the third round?
So I didn't like that pick. I would have took T.Y. Hilton before him, but I mean, hell, Steve took both Kenny Golladay and T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, so the order doesn't matter.
Yeah, the order doesn't matter. I guess you can argue, would you do Kenny Golladay or Brandon Cooks? I just think Steve's betting on another year of progression for Kenny Golladay, and you can't blame him for that.
A third-year breakout.
Yep,
banking on it. Let's start the fourth round here. I think we're going to have time to get through the top 5 rounds. Let me check the clock. Yeah, we should be okay. T.Y. Hilton in the fourth, but I think Hilton in the fourth is just as crazy as Green in the third. That's the same. I was honestly debating, do I want to take Hilton or Devonta Freeman? But I was looking at their running backs, and I was like, I got to take one. I have to do it. But it goes T.Y. Hilton, Brandon Cooks. I took Zach Ertz, the third pick of the fourth round. Hoos takes George Kittle. Mike takes Kareem Hunt, hoping that he comes back and gets the work after that suspension, I'm guessing. Then Williard takes Cooper Kupp. So, Mike, your Kareem Hunt pick, what was your thought process here? I know he's not your starting running back. He was your third running back taken. But why'd you take him over Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Jarvis Landry, Chris Godwin?
He's just one of those running backs that I feel like even if he misses 6 to 8 games, he can still finish as a maybe mid-end RB2 at the end of the season.
I would agree with you if we thought Kareem Hunt was going to get all the work in Cleveland. We're not sure that that's actually the case.
Now let's speculate on this. If Kareem Hunt weren't going to miss any games, what's the split? 50-50? 60-40 Nick Chubb?
I would say probably 50-50.
So you're rocking a 50%er?
I'm rocking a 50% Chubb.
50% Chubb. Love it. That's exactly what I was going for. I was trying not to say it, but we got there. So Mike, Continue.
So yeah, I mean, I just feel like he's gonna be the guy. I mean, I like Chubb. I think he's fantastic. I think he's a great running back, but I think Kareem Hunt's just kind of one of those full package kind of running backs. I think he'll dominate the on the field carries. I think we're talking 70-30, and that's at best when he gets back on the field.
The problem with that is coming out of college, I don't believe Kareem Hunt was anything special, and he fell into a great situation in Kansas City with Andy Reid, and we've seen historically what Andy Reid does with running backs. I'm not so sure. Listen, he's in a great situation right now in Cleveland, other than the fact that they did spend a high draft pick on Nick Chubb, and for the once they actually started featuring Chubb last year, he looked fantastic. He did not look like a slouch.
No, he didn't. But I think Kareem Hunt's better. That's all I'm saying.
Even if Kareem Hunt is better, Chubb's still going to have a big role in that offense, and that's the only reason. I don't know. I don't feel good about it. I mean, we're speculating that he's only going to get a 6-game suspension. We don't know how long of suspension he's going to get. He's still currently on the commissioner's exempt list, I believe.
I would say there's a better chance that he gets 6 games than Alvin Kamara gets 315 carries.
Right.
We'll see.
I know. Also, too, I was just for sure going to take Ertz or Kittle at that pick.
Yeah, that was my dilemma. Do I take Ertz or Kittle? Honestly, like, we do not advocate drafting tight ends earlier. I guess most of the fantasy analyst world doesn't. But if you look at the position and just how desolate the tight end position is, getting Ertz and Kittle in the 4th round, I think, is a pretty good return on your value.
I agree, because you're getting points out of position nobody else will be.
Exactly. Yes, I'm okay with taking a tight end in the 4th round if it's one of the elite 3. Now, when it comes to the next tier, Evan Engram, I would also put OJ Howard, Eric Ebron, Rob Gronkowski, who is now a tier 2 tight end. That's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be the 4th round, but let's go ahead and finish out the 4th round here. So we have, starting with Livy here with the 7th pick, Robert Woods, Kerryon Johnson for Jason. Corey takes Mark Ingram. George, you take Derrick Henry. Matt takes Pat Mahomes. And then Adam finishes round 4 with Calvin Ridley. High for Calvin Ridley, too.
Yeah. I don't know what Adam was thinking. Like, his 101 was a no-brainer pick. You could not really get that one wrong. But the next 3 picks just made me want to scratch my head on what he was thinking.
Yeah, it's well, we can talk a bunch of shit to him in a chat, but
Absolutely.
So anyways, so you took Derrick Henry. Was he just best player available, or did you want him?
Yes.
Okay.
He was. So I was hoping Kerryon Johnson came back to me.
Right.
Jason took him 2 picks before me, and then I was hoping people forgot about Mark Ingram. And a continuing trend in this draft was Corey sniping me at every chance he got.
Yeah.
So he went ahead and took Mark Ingram, and looking at what was left, there was Derrick Henry, Tevin Coleman, Chris Carson, Jerick McKinnon, Tariq Cohen, Rashard Penny, James White. I didn't feel good with any of those options, and I needed a second running back at this point.
Yeah.
So I looked at Derrick Henry, and I don't mind Derrick Henry. I think as a RB2 in the at the back end of the 4th round, that's about where he should go in most drafts anyway. So I took the best player available, and I took Derrick Henry because I don't mind Derrick Henry.
So that was Derrick Henry being taken as the 24th running back off the board.
Yep.
Wow.
Which is insane. 24th. I think he's going to finish top 20. I'm probably going to find myself recommending them this year, which is going to suck. It's going to be hard for me to do because I've never been a Derrick Henry fan. I tweeted out when Deion Lewis he first signed with the Titans, that Deion Lewis was going to have more points in fantasy, or more fantasy points than Derrick Henry. And I was right until like week 12.
When you had those 2 big old weeks, that killed it.
Well, and then the Titans finally decided, hey, maybe we should give our huge monster fast guy the ball and see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyways, yes.
I would say we have this athletic freak on our team who runs the ball. And we should probably try to give it to him versus the little fragile guy over there.
Well, yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah. Who knew? The Kerryon Johnson pick in the fourth, I think, was good for Jason as well. I debated, do I take Freeman or Kerryon in the third? I went with what I felt like was the safer PPR pick. But who would you guys have taken, Freeman or KJ?
Looking at the value Jason got on him, I probably would have took KJ.
Well, at where I was picking.
Where you were picking, I probably would have went KJ there as well.
Mike, what about you?
I think so too. I think I'd have gone Kerryon. I just really like that guy's talent. I like that offense. I mean, I don't think it's a good offense, but I think it's a great fantasy offense.
Yeah, it was a couple different dilemmas I was having to deal with in the second and third round. It was, do I take David Johnson or Tyreek Hill? Do I take Devonta Freeman or Kerryon Johnson? Big decisions there. That's why we mock in mid-March, right?
Yep.
All right, let's get one last round here. I think we got time for one final one here. Fifth round, Deshaun Watson kicks it off. Then we have Tyler Boyd in the fifth. What seems early. Evan Engram, Jarvis Landry, Chris Godwin, and Tevin Coleman. Those are the first 6 picks. George, let's talk about yours. You took Evan Engram as the 4th overall tight end. How do you feel about that?
I was feeling really good about it when I took him because Golden Tate was not on the Giants. So I was looking at the vacated targets by OBJ. We've seen Evan Engram, how well he plays when OBJ is not there, how involved he is in the offense. So at the time, I felt great about taking Engram there. If we were mocking today, I would not take Engram in the 5th round.
Yeah, I think that's a little early. Mike, anything you want to say about that?
No, I mean, just out of those picks, I mean, Deshaun Watson was Adam starting to turn it back around into making sense again. But Tyler Boyd and AJ Green, just look at how close the separation is between those two guys. And it does seem crazy, but Tyler Boyd was an actual a viable fantasy option last year. So I think that was actually a fairly good pick right there.
Yeah, I mean, he was great. He won a lot of people. Well, maybe he didn't single-handedly win, but he contributed heavily to like 5 or 6 wins in a row.
Yeah, he was phenomenal at one point. Yep.
He was really good. Let's finish up the back half here. So Williard takes Andrew Luck in the 5th round, which I think is pretty good value. Mike takes Hunter Henry, banking on that comeback. Hoos takes Chris Carson. I took DJ Moore as my wide receiver 2. Not sure how to feel about that. Lucas takes Jerick McKinnon, and then Steve takes Tariq Cohen to round out the 5th round. How you feeling about Hunter Henry, George?
He's another... Maybe I'm a closet Charger fan. I don't know. I got googly eyes for Henry as well. I love Hunter Henry. I think he's going to be a top 5 tight end. He was drafted as the 5th tight end off the board here. I love the guy's potential. If he's healthy this year, which we've seen him play a little bit last year at the end of the year in the playoffs, if he can carry that momentum over and gets a whole offseason in and whole preseason and whatnot, I think we've seen how involved the tight end position is with Phillip Rivers led offense. So I think Hunter Henry is going to be fantastic.
I mean, not for like 2 years now. We saw how much the tight end was used with Antonio Gates in his prime.
They haven't had a decent tight end in 2 years. I mean, you're trying out a 2,200-year-old Antonio Gates and expecting him to be able to do what he did a few years ago. No. But, I mean, you got to look at it as Tyrell Williams is no longer there. Antonio Gates is going to go hopefully retire somewhere. Dude deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So go ahead and get some credit towards the Hall of Fame. And I think Hunter Henry is going to come in, and I think he's going to ball.
Like, what made you feel like Hunter Henry was the 5th best tight end in the league?
Just his usage in 2017 and 2018, he didn't get to play much, but his usage in 2017, man, he was a beast on that field, catching touchdowns. And I mean, all the other good options are gone. So to me, I had to go with the guy I thought was going to be the next viable tight end candidate. I mean, you're really kind of out of options at that point. Like, I kind of pondered on OJ Howard as well, but I still I don't know. I think Hunter Henry is going to be a real deal next year.
All right. I got to be honest. He was not even on my radar. Yeah, maybe because we haven't seen anything from him for so long, but that's something I'm going to have to keep in mind. I want to ask you about my pick here last. Like I said earlier, I do not know how to feel about this team. I don't know if I kind of like it. I don't know if I completely dislike it. DJ Moore as my wide receiver 2, Mike. How do you feel about that?
I don't mind that pick. And I mean, one thing that really make me happy and about that pick anyways is if they said Cam Newton wasn't going to play this year, because again, I mean, you don't really just see the receiver connection with Cam Newton ever. And so I don't know, get a quarterback that's more standard, like sits back in the pocket and throws it. I think that'd be more copacetic to Moore. I think he's a great pick right there. I mean, there really isn't. I'm looking at all the other wide receivers after him, and I think it's him every single time I say it. So I think you made the right pick.
See, I was wondering about him or Mike Williams was also on my mind, but the 5th round seemed early for Williams.
Yeah, I mean, and he went like 7.9. So you're right. I mean, you could have even got him 2 more times after that. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like DJ Moore as your number 2. You're not feeling great about it, but you're also not feeling the worst about it either. I mean, you got good running backs to back that up, and you got the, top 3 tight end right there. So I think I'm liking that. I think I'm good with that.
George, what about you? Would you take DJ Moore as your wide receiver 2?
No, I wouldn't take DJ Moore as my wide receiver 3 or 4.
Okay.
I'm not a big, and it's 100%. It's not a knock on DJ Moore. It's 100% a knock on Cam Newton. Cam Newton does not get his receivers involved the way he should. Ever since Steve Smith had left, he doesn't feature a single wide receiver. He sporadically targets his wide receivers. I think Cam would rather run the ball or just toss it off to Christian McCaffrey 100 times and be done with it. I love the fact that in the 7th round you got Sterling Shepard. I would take Sterling Shepard over DJ Moore. I love the fact in the 8th round you got Alshon Jeffrey. I'd probably take Alshon Jeffrey over DJ Moore. I would definitely take Mike Williams over DJ Moore, and I'd probably go with Dante Pettis over DJ Moore. And all of them were taken at least a round.
They were all taken after
DJ Moore.
Yeah. I was hoping Godwin was going to be there because I would have taken Godwin.
Well, if you notice what Jason did, and I don't know if this was brilliance or homerism, I cannot tell the difference sometimes. His wide receiver 1 is Mike Evans. His wide receiver 2 was Chris Godwin. So he stacked the Tampa Bay wide receivers, which I'm guessing he knows something about Tampa Bay the rest of us don't know.
I'm guessing that was an accident.
I know it was, but I wasn't going to let it. I wasn't going to go that angle. But no, yeah. There's a. I'm not sold with DJ Moore. I don't really think he's going to be all that great. I wouldn't trust him as my wide receiver 2. I would not be feeling very good. Like I said, you got Alshon, you got Sterling Shepard. I like both of them better. So if you bump DJ Moore down a couple rounds and switch up Alshon a couple rounds or Sterling Shepard a couple rounds, no problem.
All right, guys, that's all we're going to have time for. We can't get through round 6. I'm just going to read through the first 9 rounds of each one of our teams here so far. George, you had the 3rd overall pick. Once again, 12-team PPR. You went Alvin Kamara, Keenan Allen, AJ Green, Derrick Henry, Evan Engram, then David Montgomery, N'Keal Harry, Austin Eckler, and Jordan Howard. Give me one pick that you may have done differently or you wish you had done differently.
David Montgomery at 6'10". I didn't see Kenyon Drake on the board at that point. I think I would have took Kenyon Drake over David Montgomery.
What about Latavius Murray? All right, Mike, same exercise to you. You have one of my favorite teams, at least one of my favorite starts, Melvin Gordon, Tyreek Hill, Aaron Jones, Kareem Hunt, Hunter Henry, Dante Pettis, Ronald Jones in the 7th, Carson Wentz, and then Kiki Cutie. Give me one pick you wish you had done differently.
The one pick that I really kind of wish I would have had back was maybe Kareem Hunt. I think I'd have rather had maybe Kerryon Johnson, Mark Ingram right there, just because I have a lot of faith in what those 2 guys can do on the offense.
All right, and then my team here, Julio Jones, David Johnson, Devonta Freeman, Zach Ertz, DJ Moore. Then I got Aaron Rodgers in the 6th, which I feel like is ridiculous. Sterling Shepard, Alshon Jeffrey, and Robbie Anderson. And I think I'm okay with taking Zach Ertz in the 4th round. I'm okay with having my tight end there. But looking at DJ Moore as my 2nd wide receiver, I wish I'd taken T.Y. Hilton in the 3rd over Devonta Freeman.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
With regards to Aaron Rodgers in the 6th, I think, again, that was based solely upon who you were drafting.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
We're everybody in here was basically wait on quarterbacks drafting style. I mean, the first quarterback didn't go to the fourth round. At the end of the fourth round at that, and there's no way Mahomes is going to be going in the fourth round in your home leagues or your startup leagues. He's going to go so earlier. He'll probably go at the end of the second.
Jason took Baker in the sixth, 5 picks after I took Aaron Rodgers. I was seriously debating on taking Baker over Aaron Rodgers. I didn't do it. I couldn't pull the trigger, but I wanted to.
In Dynasty, I've seen Baker Mayfield going as high as the quarterback 2 in Dynasty now.
Right after Mahomes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to be it for today. That's all the time that we have. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and listened to the show. Once again, I did this last week. Before we close out, please, everybody, go check out the other shows that are here in the Sleeper Wire Network. Break from the Grind. George, you are one of the hosts of the Break from the Grind podcast, along with Jason, who is behind the scenes on this show. You guys do an awesome job. Give me a 30-second pitch on what your show's about.
Our show is basically about life. There's nothing we won't talk about on the show. We released an episode, I believe it came out today, actually, featuring Just a Girl. A lot of people may recognize from the Twitter. She's always interacting with us, Superwire on Twitter. She always does the Mock Mondays with us. She does the Sunday Blitz with us. She calls in and asks questions. She's very interactive with Sleeper Wire. We had her on the show, and we got to talk a little bit about her background. She's a huge Broncos fan, as most people knows, and it was a really good conversation. And that's what we kind of do. We're not a fantasy football podcast, so we're not breaking down plays. We're not giving you sleepers. We're not doing mock drafts. That's everything we do here at Sleeper Wire. With Break from the Grind, it's everything else. We talk about life. We get into politics sometimes. There's nothing that's off limits with Jason and I.
But you still hit fantasy football too, which is cool.
Yeah, we hit it a little bit. We still talk about fantasy football, but we're not like doing like what we're doing now, where we're doing a mock draft and we're not telling your sleepers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not only a break from the grind of work, but it's a break from the grind of hearing the same fantasy football information from the different shows just regurgitated at you. We hope at Sleeper Wire we bring something a little bit different, but this is truly a break from the grind from just flat out fantasy shows as well. So George, Jason, you guys do a killer job over there with that. We're happy to have you in the Sleeper Wire Network. Also, check out the Dynasty Wire show with Draft Genius. These guys do an awesome job over there as well. That's everything Dynasty over with Dynasty Wire. Well, hey, guys, that's going to be it for the show. Everybody, please follow us on Twitter at Sleeper Wire Show. Mike is on there at Dirty Jobs 21. George is at BFTG Pod, and I am Prof_Chris SW. Follow us on Sleeper, Dirty Jobs, BFTGO, and Professor Chris. Follow us on Facebook, the Sleeper Wire Fantasy Football Club, and then hit us up on Instagram as well, Dirty_Jobs_Mike and Professor Chris SW. Mike, George, thank you so much for joining me this week. Everybody else, thanks for listening. We will catch you next time.